Hi, my name is Ben Jones, and I'm an analyst at Dorsey, Wright & Associates, and it's good to be back with you on this DWA India Minute. And as always, I want to start off by looking at the CNX Nifty, and it's definitely been an interesting week in the global marketplace, especially due to the events in Japan. But India and the Nifty has actually been able to hold up rather well compared to some of the major Asia-Pacific benchmarks. In fact, the Nifty, we've seen it really stabilize this past week. It's come down to a support level, which can be found, let's say, right above that 5,200 at 5,300, and so it's on a pullback, still trading in a positive trend. The overall outlook is, well, it's positive right now, at least from what we've seen over the last few months. And if you look at just in the month of March alone, when a lot of the major benchmarks are down, the Nifty's actually up, actually up 0.76%. I know that does not sound like a lot, but it's at least a positive sign. So the Nifty is improving, albeit just on small increments. But another topic I want to look at, it's something interesting that I found in The Economist magazine. I was just looking at the March 5th issue, and there was an interesting article about Tata Group. A briefing about the company, its history, its background, and what they're planning to do in the future, over not only in the emerging market space, marketplace, but also the developed markets. And it's a huge conglomerate. They have over 28 listed companies on the Bombay Stock Exchange, and I think probably in the next few years it's going to be a global name, not only in India, but also in the United States and abroad. And so let's just look at a few of the stock charts. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time to cover all 28 of them, but I just picked out a few, some of the more well-known names, and a few of them that just kind of piqued my interest. So Tata Motors, you all know that the nano car, it's had some issues. Their stock, really, it hasn't had many issues. It was a high flyer back when it bounced up in July of last year. It reached the top there in December around that 1350 level. It did correct, but not as severely as we've seen across the Indian marketplace. It did produce two sell signals along the way, but it's still a 5 for 5. It's still technically sound, a decent name. I would like to buy it on potentially on a reversal up in the X's once we find a level of support. Next name, Tata Steel Limited. Unlike Tata Motors, Steel Limited is trading in a negative trend, and this concerns me because we know that supply is in control. We're at a pretty important level of support here at 580. So let's see if it can hold at this level. It's a 4 for 5, so it's been outperforming the market and its peer group, but it's trading a negative trend. Why? Because it's trading below the bearish resistance line after it violated the bullish support line back in February. One of the better names within the Tata Group is Tata Consultancy Services. This is a 5 for 5er, and we haven't seen a significant really correction here to note, and so I would consider buying here or waiting for a pullback. Tata Communications, unlike Tata Consultancies, Communications, it's a very weak name right now. Plain and simple. It's a 0 for 5er, has no positive attributes whatsoever, trading in a negative trend, and if we look at its chart going back to the beginning of the year, it's nothing but lower tops, lower bottoms, because prices has fallen very rapidly all the way down to that 172 level, and its high of this year was actually at 268. So it's a pretty big correction right there. And one name that is definitely one to look at potentially, especially if we do see some sort of pullback here, is Tata Coffee Limited. Coffee is up over 15% this year, and Tata Coffee has definitely benefited from that. We see the technical attribute rating is a 5 for 5er. It's a member of the consumer cyclical group. It's trading in a positive trend. I would like to buy it on some sort of pullback here. Definitely don't want to take an order here because it's in the overbought territory. But if it can breathe and exhale a little bit, I might be a buyer there. But overall, it looks solid. 5 for 5er, and so again, here are just a few names. If you go to StockEasy.com, you can look at some of the other names we've talked about. Just type their name in the search field, and also feel free to friend me as well as Tom Dorsey on StockEasy.com. I look forward to talking with you guys next week, and have a great weekend.